Alright, what's going on, guys? This is Vesper, and we're finally going to start doing some character guides now on the 3 new characters that came to Street Fighter V: Lucia, E Honda, and Poison. I'm going to try something a little differently this time, though. We're going to do some tidbit guides, make it a little bit more digestible for everyone, just so it's not too overwhelming, the video's too long, too much information, and we're going to go piece by piece. Now, I'm not necessarily going to do the basic stuff and then slowly move to the advanced stuff. We're going to be bouncing back and forth just so, because everyone's at a different level right now with these characters. But no matter what, I'm going to make sure that I put all the guides for the respective characters in their own playlist. So make sure you guys, when you want to, if you're just coming to this video late, to make sure you check out the Lucia tutorial playlist that will be at the end of the video, so you can check out all the other guides that I've made in the past. And this, of course, will go for E Honda and Poison as well. I'll also be bouncing in between each character, so don't worry, I'm not going to do Lucia first and then tackle Honda next, for example. So you guys can look forward to that. So with that being said, guys, let's get started with the guide. We're going to be talking about Lucia's best normal attacks, or most notable ones, and I'll be going through each one. So let's get started. Okay, so I guess the best way to start is with Lucia's Crouching Light Punch. This is very important all because this is her fastest one. This is her 3-framer. This is your get off me normal, or when you're in a little pinch and you need to throw out the fastest attack, Crouching Light Punch is your go-to. What's really good about Crouching Light Punch is that it does have some good conversions that go into knockdown. If you go into her medium DP, for example, it also easily goes into her V-skill, which is great if you want to put them into a little mix-up situation with a tick throw. Another thing that's really good about Crouching Light Punch, though, is that the counter hit has some pretty good conversions. So if you dash forward and you go Crouching Light Punch, or you basically catch your opponent with a faster normal, you go Crouching Light Punch, Crouching Medium Punch, and that converts into pretty decent damage. If you're point blank, which is kind of rare, but if you are happen to be point blank, you go into a full combo with Standing Medium Punch into Crouching Medium Kick. So this is one of the better Crouching Light Punches. Also, another thing with Lucia's Crouching Light Punch is that it easily ticks into throw without moving, whether it's on hit or block, which is somewhat rare in Street Fighter V for a lot of the light attacks. There's usually your designated one, but Lucia, all of her light attacks go into tick throw. But conveniently, you want to use Crouching Light Punch a lot, so I'm happy that it still goes into throw. Now, Standing Light Punch. Standing Light Punch is not used as much, but it's still worth noting that you can't go Crouching Light Punch into Standing Light Punch on non-counter hit. So when you the ideal thing about Standing Light Punch is it goes into our target combo. So you can go light into our target, and this is useful because our target combo allows you to side switch, going like this. So if you happen to be stuck in the corner, for example, and your opponent is, and you see a little gap where you can squeeze out a Standing Light Punch, this is the ideal point of Standing Light Punch in general, even though this is a 4-framer and Crouching Light Punch is a 3-framer. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, now Standing Medium Punch. This is going to be one of your most used normals because this is like your quick, this is 5-frame startup, super fast. It really reminds me of like Cammy, for example. Even though it's not quite as good, it's still something you can really bully your opponent with because, well, one, it goes into our standard B&B, for example, where you go into the Crouching Fierce. Another part is it's +3 on block. Like, you can really bully the opponent with this by walking forward. You're +3, and this starts up in 5 frames. So you even have a single frame where you can walk a pixel forward and squeeze out another Standing Medium Punch. And even if they have a 3-framer, they'll still get frame trapped. And then you can go for the throw, of course, or you can go for a little shimmy game. But overall, it's a good bully tool. It's not something you can spam as much as someone like Cammy, for example, because of the pushback and Lucia's movement speed, but it's still used basically in the same way. Now, because you're going to be bullying your opponent with this a lot, you're going to get a counter hit for sure. So with the counter hit, there's 2 basic things that you can reliably combo into from any range. The first thing is the sweep. So this links into sweep for a good knockdown. It's very simple, easy confirm. And the other counter hit confirm is you can link this into V-skill. Not a cancel, a link. So you can visually see the counter hit on the left side of the screen. And if you see it pop up, just press V-skill and it actually combos. And this is pretty good too because, one, the V-skill is good for obviously getting V-gauge and it puts you into throw range. But another thing too is it's good into getting into a confirm into V-trigger, for example. Because V-skill is one of the better things. In both V-triggers, it's ideal. for example. So I forgot where you can go in V skill. I think it's crouching medium punch. Yeah. And one more counter hit conversion would be into standing hard punch. So this is good because even though standing medium punch naturally links into crouching fierce, you're not always going to be at point blank range. So if you're fishing for it and you see the counter hit message, it's a very easy, strong confirm that leads into one of her strongest combos, basically. So this is also very, very good. Okay, next up, standing hard punch. So standing hard punch is good because it's cancelable, and she kind of leans forward, and if your opponent's playing footsies with you, you can kind of just throw this out and buffer it into a special. And if they happen to stick out a button, for example, you'll hit their hurt box, and then you can convert it to maybe, you know, quarter circle back hard kick. I would suggest, for example, you can go into the run if you're a little bit more advanced player, and you can convert it into the shoulder like that. But ideally, I would go into the quarter circle back hard kick and then convert from there. But most of the time, you're going to be using this as your go-to shimmy tool. So when you let's say your opponent is blocking, and then you go for a shimmy, ideally you want to use standing hard punch just because it's fast enough, it goes far enough, and of course it's cancelable. So if you're gonna shimmy your opponent, for example, you would like go like this for like that into shoulder, which is actually a lot of damage for a shimmy, and she's got a lot of extensions and variety when she lands that shoulder. You have a lot of options. You know, you can even go into EX, for example. Alright, the next normal I want to go over is a command normal. It's her down forward light kick. This is her slide. So besides the obvious that it's a slide, one really good thing about this is it goes underneath projectiles. It goes underneath almost all projectiles because she goes really, really low profile, like more low profile than usual. She can even go underneath Sagat's low tiger shots with this, which is really good. And she already has a couple anti-zoning tools, but her slide is just such a simple one. And it's really tempting to like slide a lot if you really want to get in, because that's usually your game plan, Lucia. But just be really careful with it because you are quite minus if you don't space it correctly. Like even here, you're -4. This is punishable on hit. On hit, it's punishable, and of course on block it would be just as bad, if not worse. Yeah, -7. So you gotta make sure you really space it. However, if you do perfectly space it, you are safe. So let's see if I can plan to show you. That was -3 there. I can get, yeah, that was -1. So that was perfectly safe. And on top of that, if you're really good at spacing it, maybe you have a setup or something. But on hit, you can get up to +3, and then therefore you can convert into a crouching light punch, for example. If I can space it myself here. There we go. And then of course you can convert. But it's very risky. It's very hard to know if your spacing is correct. That's why I said ideally you'll need a setup. Most of the time, you're going to use your slide to go on your projectiles. Like I said, it's just going to become very tempting for you to use this all the time because you're so focused on getting close. Just try not to use it at this range, because I've done that a lot myself, and you're going to end up getting punished a lot by people because you're in the -3 range there. Okay, crouching medium kick. This is another button you're going to be using a lot, especially when you're stuck in neutral with Lucia. The one really good thing about this crouching medium kick is that it's cancelable, which is really good because most of the time you're gonna cancel into your quarter circle back kick. This burn kick, one thing that's really good is this burn kick is 0 on hit. So when you land this, you can stick out like a crouching light punch into a crouching medium punch, for example, fish for a counter hit, because most of the time the opponent is going to try to hit you back, but you're even, and if the opponent doesn't even have a 3-frame normal, then you're at quite a good advantage. This is, as long as you space your crouching medium kick safely from a far distance, you're relatively safe. You're -4, and this is with every single version of that burn kick. Just be careful with characters that have long 4-frame normals. But for the most part, this is what you're going to be doing in neutral with Lucia and fishing with that crouching medium kick. Besides her run cancels, which we'll go over in the future. Another thing too is that you can try to buffer it in front of your opponent like this, and you can buffer it into quarter circle back EX, because the EX version in particular has good follow-ups into her uppercut with some pretty decent damage. But you don't want to do this like if they're guarding, because of course you don't want to waste your meter. But on block it is safe at -2. You just don't want to waste meters, basically what I'm saying. Another thing too, her crouching medium kick is one of your main tools for converting into V trigger. It doesn't matter which V trigger you use, 1 or 2. but it allows her to link her standing hard punch, which is good if you don't want to, if you don't want to waste bar on, because if you're draining your bar on V trigger 1, for example, like that, you can basically go into your V skill with a combo like this. Then I don't have to waste V gauge, for example. So crouching mini kick is really good. A lot of plus on hit. All right, standing hard kick. The obvious part about standing hard kick is that it's one of your longest range normals. So when you're in footsies and you're losing neutral to someone with better buttons than you, it's going to be tempting to throw this out a lot. I wouldn't recommend it because these are one of those buttons that if your opponent happens to jump on you, you're basically screwed. Because it's just so much recovery to it. But the benefit though is that when you use it sparingly, you'll sometimes land a crush counter with it, and it's a pretty good crush counter because not because of the damage. You can do some fancy stuff, like you can go right into shoulder, for example, and convert for pretty good damage. But one thing that's really good is it converts into your target combo. And the good part about your target combo is that it allows you to side switch, like I said before. So, you know, if you're stuck in the corner, for example, and your opponent's trying to shimmy you or whatever, and you happen to land that crush counter, then you can go into the side switch after it, which is really good for a good, you know, swing of momentum in the match back in your favor. Okay, now for jumping normals, the most important ones are jumping medium kick, obviously, for your cross-up, which is good because you can do a backdash, golden shimmy to hard punch. You can go into your bread and butter if you happen to land the cross-up, and of course you're in the ideal range for your tick throw. I mean, typical stuff. It's got a good, reliable hitbox for Lucia, unlike some other characters that happen to have, like, you know, light kick cross-ups, for example. The other notable jumping attacks would be your jumping hard punch and your jumping heavy kick. Now the difference between these two is that jumping hard punch has got a better hitbox, but the jumping hard kick hits lower and sooner. So this, I would say in general, what you should know is when you're jumping at your opponent, use heavy kick. But if you happen to notice weird situations where your opponent is anti-airing you with fraudulent stuff, like standing light punch, for example, then use jumping hard punch because this hitbox is clean, and it should stop them easily if someone is using a fraudulent anti-air that they shouldn't be, and they're, you know, basically not doing their designated anti-air. If you're going to, like, shimmy by jumping straight up and doing, like, a throw bait, for example, use jumping heavy kick because, once again, it hits lower than jumping heavy punch. Alright, cool, guys. That's a wrap. Those are Lucia's best normal attacks off of the top of my head. Now, of course, if I happen to miss something or incorrect about something, or we learn more about Lucia in the future, I'll of course make a follow-up video and basically keep you guys up to date with the Lucia guide playlist. Now, if you guys happen to have any suggestions or anything on some guides you'd like me to cover on Lucia in the future, of course, let me know in the comments below and I'll add it to the list of things to do if I happen to not already add it to that list. But if this video was helpful to you guys, please do me a solid. Please subscribe to the channel. Of course, like the video. We'll have more guides for more characters for you guys in the future as I slowly evolve this playlist. So, thanks again, guys. Till next time, take care.